one thing I would say that I think is just the paramount is one word, and that's rhythm. You have to, in most people who are overwhelmed or their families are burning out, it's because at the end of the day, their lives and their families are out of rhythm. They're out of sync.
And it's you and me, babe, whatever comes, knowing bigger hands are holding ours, and the greatest days are ahead of us. Growing in love, learning to be a better us.
Hi, we're so glad you've tuned in to A Better Us. Welcome to our home.
Okay, so do you ever look at couples who've been married for decades and wonder to yourself, how do they do it? How do they stay together for so long? Researcher Shaunti Feldhan did some digging and discovered an answer to that question that just might surprise you. And our kitchen couples are all over it. That's coming up later. How's that for a tease?
Pretty good tease, hon. And just the guys of A Better Us are in the workshop with a home improvement challenge. It's one that families tend to struggle with a lot. You know, with all the busyness of the family calendar, from soccer practice to swimming lessons to piano recital, how do we avoid burnout in our family life? Well, author and speaker Jefferson Bethke will bring some wisdom, and we guys will share from our own experience.
All that and more is coming up right now.
Hey, Jeff, you really are an expert in how to maintain and find balance. You and Alyssa are just incredible at this. Answer this question that we get so often at Loveology. Our family life is out of control. I mean, we're going to every soccer practice and game, and then we got the plays and we got the piano lessons, and we're just overscheduled.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah. What I would say is, and it's something that me and Alyssa care deeply about and think a lot about and coach a lot of families in. One, when I only have a couple minutes, one thing I would say that I think is just the paramount is one word, and that's rhythm. You have to, in most people who are overwhelmed or their families are burning out, it's because at the end of the day, their lives and their families are out of rhythm. They're out of sync. And there should be a level, and just like the music metaphor that rhythm has, there should be a level at which you're weak. So think about your life not in a day, and don't think about your life in a year or whatever. Think about it in a series of 7 days. That's a very, very strong tool that I think we have at our disposal. That, by the way, I talked about in my book, multiple cultures have tried to change the 7-day week, French Revolution, Communist Russia, 5-day week, 10-day week, and it crashes and burns. Even less or more, it crashes and burns. We are built for a 7-day rhythm of working and resting. And then on top of that, I think also stepping into trying to think of your week like music. That I want every day to sing. I want every day to connect and kind of go at this rhythmic pace. You can still do a lot of activity in that. That doesn't mean that you're not ambitious. That doesn't mean you're not, but it should kind of dance and it should kind of sing. And if you feel like the music is just screeching, well, then you need to pause and you need to look at that week and say, I love all the things we're doing, but maybe this one thing is, killing us, or it's playing, it's out of sync, it's out of rhythm. So we're going to take that out and we're going to adjust and we're going to see how it goes. But I'd love to hear what you would say to that of just when a family is doing a lot of things, how do you maintain that semblance of balance?
I love that you're talking about that rhythm, because, and the 7-day thing, we really do need that Sabbath.
Yep.
We need a Shabbat.
Yep.
We need that time, right, where we can just regroup, turn everything off, and let our souls catch up. And that includes little ones, right? We often think it's only impacting adults, but the little ones need that as well.
Yeah.
You guys are so intentional with your little family and I love watching it. Leslie and I marvel at how you guys do this. And you have techniques, like you have stuff up in your kitchen, like a board. Talk briefly about that. What is that all about?
Well, I think it gets to, it's funny is a lot of us will sacrifice for a lot of things, but we don't tend to sacrifice our time for our family when other time wants it. Meaning if we have like a family dinner planned, but then something better comes along, we will cancel, we'll say, you can go to that football game, or I got this work thing. And so we say, you don't have to hold family time sacred 24/7, but is there blocks that are? And so one of those ways that we do that and beating that drum is we kind of just encourage our family, our kids with these values that are hung up in our kitchen. And we say, if we hold to these and we kind of operate in that rhythmically, it'll start to lead to peace.
That's beautiful. Jeff, thanks as always.
Hey, welcome to the workshop with the guys of A Better Us. We have Eric Maines, we have Mike Pinball Clemens, and we have Dan McCauley. And we are here in this workshop because we're going to be talking about home improvement stuff, guys. Maybe not the kind of home improvement that normally happens in this workshop, but maybe there's some tools that we can figure out and share that can help people along. Now, we just watched a segment where this Jefferson Bethke, he had some good points there, talking about family life. And, you know, it's a challenge for sure. I can just imagine, Mike, I know your schedule is pretty busy, you know, to get you here today. You know, we jumped through some hoops, but we made it happen. But through the years, as a football guy, you know, not only a player, then a coach, and now a manager, and then your pinball foundation you have, the charity, and you've got a lot of balls you're juggling. How has it been for you through the years with this whole idea of balance and avoiding burnout?
I love this idea of rhythm, right? Getting your rhythm and getting into a rhythm, so conceptually, I love it, right? But how does that work for you individually as a family? And so when we refer to that rhythm, for me, that the big thing was, you know, when you left work and you came home, right? When you walked through that door, you turn into Superman, right? This is the most important thing you're going to do all day. And so I think having some of those just practices, there are a lot of things that you can hear, that you talk about and that kind of thing. And you can pick out what works best for you, right? But so that was a thing for me. So when we talk about, the load of going to soccer, I love going to soccer practice. I love seeing, I mean, that's the sweet spot. I mean, that's why we're here, is being engaged and enjoying them and helping them to grow and to develop and being there for them and simply supporting them, right? So a lot of times, like my girls, Dad, don't coach me about. I have a coach, right? I got the coach.
I could just see you on the sidelines watching them play soccer and then just being Mr. Coach there.
Well, I'm actually a pretty standoffish guy when it comes to that, right? But in the car, right, I'll sometimes kind of add a little something and I think the biggest thing is for us to be there, to be committed, to be present, and to be positive, right? And it's amazing how that those basic things there, right? Those basic principles really, I think, change the vision of this. This is not the struggle. This is the gift.
That's good.
You know what? I would say for this rhythm, for Kara and I in this season of our life, we are intentional about trying to find a rhythm, a routine, because we have 2 kids under the age of 3, and so it's not like soccer practice or piano lessons or things like that. Everything's at home, and we need to have a routine of diapers and then meal times and then bedtimes and who's going to be waking up with the baby in the night, who's taking that turn. And so we are trying to be intentional about that, but recently there's been all these things that have kind of broken the rhythm because we either getting a new job or moving. We moved recently, and so I would say that we are kind of lacking in this area right now of finding that rhythm and trying to be like, let's get back into routine. But I think it's important that we always remember that we're doing this together. Like, that we're in this together. It's not like, okay, I'm gonna have my routine and I'm gonna do this. It's our routine. We're on this side of what we're trying to accomplish, and let's do it together. And so I think that's pretty important.
If I can maybe just add there, during those times where life was busier, I mean, our girls are grown now. It really is about, finding that rhythm and finding that. But one of the things is people used to say, are you sleeping? All that. It's like, it's the best sleep I've ever lost, right? and so it really is how
especially
we
with a little baby,
right? And it's really how we position it, right? And because what a joy that is, right?
For me, I mean, he made the light bulb come on for me because he talked about music. and think about it as the rhythm of music, and that's like the world that I live in a lot. And I often even coach worship teams when we're arranging a song, assuming we're not exactly following the CD or whatever, the ebb and flow of music, the dynamics of music, the rhythm of music. And in arranging, when an arranger arranges a song, so let's think, the 90s, for instance, had a lot of like a guitar solo that would rip right after the bridge or something, or a sax solo or something. And that's really good in its moment, and it has its moment, but if that sax player was just playing constantly through the whole song, it would wreck everything, right? So there needs to be an ebb and flow, and even a good thing like the excellent sax solo or guitar solo or whatever would wreck the whole song if it was just constant. So there's like a push and pull. There's like a bit of time for each. There's like some time for that, and there's a time for this, and realizing that we don't have to do everything all at once. We don't have to have that solo going through the whole song, or even in a pop song. Like pop has this down to a science. So they'll have maybe it's like a big driving beat, right? And then they drop it out right before the chorus. So it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4. Even that one bar, it kind of clears the palette for a second, and then they bring it in again on the chorus, and it's back to driving. But because they paused it for that one bar, it clears your palette for a second and lets it come back in and makes it more meaningful. So in life, we need some of those times that we schedule that cleaning of the palate, that rest, because we just can't be driving all the time because it starts to feel like he said screeching, like it's just too much. We need the ebb and flow, that call and answer that music has. Sometimes it's you, sometimes it's your wife. Like you're saying, and sometimes it's you changing the diapers, or sometimes it's Kara, right? Yeah. There's that call and answer in music too. I mean, he really, for me, this came alive.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dan, in the workshop here, you hit the nail on the head, I think, right there. And but it's about balance, isn't it, in our life?
Right.
When I think of a level that is probably back here somewhere, you want the bubble in the middle.
Yeah.
Somehow you want to find that balance. I remember a few years back in an interview, the great quarterback Tom Brady, he talked in this interview how his wife wrote him a heartfelt letter saying that you're focusing too much on football. They were feeling left out as a family, as a wife and as a family. And that kind of gave him a wake-up call a little bit, and he said, I needed to make some changes in my life. I needed to get some balance. And he started doing things. He even missed some team activities, which you probably don't want your players to miss too many team activities, but he was saying, and he could probably get away with it because he's Tom Brady, right? Yes, so. But he realized that, I need to bring balance back into my life. We can get so busy, because the thing is, when you say yes to one thing, it's when you have a limited schedule in your day and in your week, you're saying no to something else.
At what cost? Yeah.
Yeah. What is the cost of some of the yeses that we say? And so it's really looking at your calendar, and Jefferson Bethke suggested a week at a time. Allow for the time for family, allow for time for rest. But it's really scheduling it, because if you don't schedule your priorities into your calendar, all the smaller things are just going to take up all the space, right? And so that's pretty important stuff.
I think when you refer to Tom Brady, many of us don't understand that we have that Tom Brady power, right? Because Tom Brady is Tom Brady because of his level of commitment. And when we're committed to something and people know that it's important to us, right? They want us to take the time as well to spend with our family and to do the different things. They don't want to wear us out, right? They want us to still, and and too many times we think, oh, well, I couldn't do that. Right, and it's so important to make sure that we ask the question, right, and because there's I think a lot of latitude that we don't necessarily take advantage of, especially when we're at that really busy age.
Your players are probably better on the field when they've had that downtime, as opposed to just driven constantly all the time, right? Because they've had that refresh.
It makes them more
the
committed.
Scene change.
It makes them more committed, because now you're reciprocating and showing commitment to them, right? It makes them more committed.
Well, marriage is work, family life is work, but it's so rewarding. You know, sometimes when I do a project, whether it's you know, a little handyman thing around the house or I build something, isn't it so nice to, when you're finished, you kind of look back and you go, hey, that's pretty good. I did okay on that. And so it's rewarding when you put in the work.
Right.
Now with marriage and family, you know, the renovations never end. You need to keep putting work. You can't just say, you know, I've been there, I've arrived, but we always need to keep working at it. Yeah. But it is so rewarding, it is so worth it. And so that's our encouragement to those of you watching today. In the workshop here, you know, keep at it, it's worth it. Watch those priorities and schedule the important things in life. Guys, it's been good in the workshop.
Awesome. And maybe we can be like Brady on this one.
All right.
Putting God first might sound like Marriage 101. It might sound like something, well, you know what, okay, yeah, it's kind of, I understand that we're supposed to do that. But really, if you really think about it, what does it mean in a practical way in your lives every day to put God first? Not your spouse, but God. Hey friends, Ron and Ann here. We're so glad you're with us at A Better Us, and we pray your marriage is blessed as you take this in.
Be sure and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and enjoy this video.
To have a great relationship, learn what those in great relationships do differently. In my research study for the surprising secrets of highly happy marriages, I identified 12 little things that make a big difference. Here is secret number 10. Instead of looking to your marriage or your spouse for fulfillment and happiness, put God at the center of your marriage and focus on Him first. When I did the research for my book For Parents Only, I was interested to find that the happiest kids weren't the ones whose parents put them first. They put their marriage and the whole family first, rather than focusing on the happiness of the kids. Well, I found an interesting parallel in this marriage research. Often the happiest couples weren't the ones who put their marriage first or looked to marriage for happiness, but who put God at the center of their marriages. Now, that wouldn't have surprised me if I'd only interviewed and surveyed people in churches, but I did a ton of random interviews in coffee shops and airports, and consistently, the happy couples kept bringing up how important it was to not look to their spouse or the marriage for happiness, because that was looking to marriage for something it's not designed to deliver. Instead, these couples kept bringing up how important it was to not put that pressure on their spouse, and instead look to God for that fulfillment. Prioritizing God first gave them a deeper sense of security in their marriage and provided an example of selfless love that taught them how to be better spouses. No matter where you are spiritually, try this. Marriage isn't always easy, but if you try to put God first, you don't have to worry about being strong enough to weather those storms, because you know that strength ultimately comes from God.
We are in the kitchen with our good buddies Mike and Diane and Eric and Kara.
Hey,
Our kitchen couples together again.
the kitchen buddies.
The kitchen buddies.
We'll coin a new phrase. Yes. And it's always good to hear from Shaunti Feldhan. Yeah. She has a lot of wisdom about marriage that's backed up by research that she does too. And so this idea of God first, so important, isn't it?
You know what? Putting God first might sound like Marriage 101. It might sound like something, well, you know what? Okay, yeah, it's kind of, I understand that we're supposed to do that. But really, if you really think about it, what does it mean in a practical way in your lives every day to put God first? Not your spouse, but God. Like, what does that look like, guys?
Yeah, for me, it means just aligning yourselves with the same shared values. Because when you're on one accord, when you have those same core values, then that's just gonna make that walk through that marriage a little bit easier, not just for your spouse, but for you as well, because you're gonna go through those same things together, and you're gonna have that same spiritual growth together as you're walking through each in every situation that you're going through.
when you say that, it kind of gives me that vision, like, hey, I can see what's transpiring or what should happen here, and when you have that sight, right, it actually opens up a light. And that light is love and trust and all of those things that come in marriage. But not only that, then you get tight, right? Because if you
Okay with the
if
rhyme.
you're listening, and kind of following God, and that is your, He says the two shall become one flesh, and so we're really coming together. And when we get it right, it lasts till death do us part.
That's right.
Yeah, so
That's
sight, light, tight, and get it right.
Yeah.
I love it. That's so good.
Yeah, it's the acknowledge him in all that you do, and he will direct your path. And
Proverbs
so,
3.
Yeah, exactly.
Come
So
on.
Proverbs 3:6. And our calling in life, in marriage and in career and in life, really is obedience. We're called to obedience, to obey God. And so that would mean, let's take the pressure of success in marriage or success in life off our shoulders and let God determine the success. Our job is obedience.
Yes.
And so let's do that. Let's acknowledge God in all that we do, and He will make our path straight.
Yes.
I think too, in our first year of marriage, this was kind of the hardest thing to do, because you create these habits in your own devotional life, and now you move in with someone, you marry someone, and you're trying to figure out how that fits in your new world. You're like, maybe I like to do my devotions late at night, but you like to go to bed early, or you like to do it in the morning, and I like to do it in the afternoon, and it's trying to find that rhythm that now works with your new routine in life.
And I guess the bottom line is you continue to do your own devotional, because our individual growth with the Lord is the most important, because we're going to stand before Him by ourselves. But to strengthen your marriage, to do it together, I love that, to find a way then to incorporate that habit so that it's the two of you doing it together.
That's exactly it.
That's good. I like that.
That's
Well,
awesome.
Shaunti, when she was doing that little teaching there, she said it in a couple different ways. She said God first, and so then you think, okay, up here, and then she also said put God at the center. And then, so I'm thinking, I'm starting to get positionally confused here. Okay, but then it's really two ways of saying the same thing as I thought about it more. And I thought, okay, if you think of it like concentric circles, God is in the middle. The priorities are, you start in the middle, and then you work out from there to then, so it's God, and then your spouse, and then your family, the kids, and then it's the, work and church and all the other things that come out there on the periphery, but it's what's in the center. What's the bullseye? What is the thing we need to target every day? That because if you get that right, it just flows out into every other area of your life. It's almost like the ripples in the pond when the rock hits. You get that right, and it has a powerful influence all around. And so that strength of putting God in the center first is so important.
I love that. And something else Shaunti said was, don't look to your marriage to do something it wasn't designed to do, basically. And when we travel across the country and we speak into marriages, there's something that we share called the 4 deepest needs that only God can meet. And those are acceptance, identity, security, and purpose. And we all share those 4 deepest needs. Doesn't matter where we live, what continent we live on, if we're married, if we're single, everybody shares these deepest needs. But the point is that only God can meet them. And so if we start looking to our spouse to meet one or more of those deepest needs that only God can meet, then we're setting him up for failure. Because there's something called the principle of transference. And that states that when I don't look to God to meet those 4 deepest needs, I automatically transfer that dependence onto my spouse. And that's
They don't make a very good God.
no, he doesn't.
Let's face it.
No, he doesn't. And that's a recipe for disaster. So I guess the point is that it really is core in doing marriage well is to first get that first step right. Like you were saying, align yourselves spiritually together first. And then like Mike said, then the light shines out of it. As a couple, like you guys just sparkle. The light shines out of you.
And we thank God for that.
That's it. That's it. And another thing is just when we just simply believe that our marriage is a covenant under God, then that will simply strengthen our marriage and our connection together.
Right.
But first we have to believe that that marriage is a covenant under Him.
It's not a contract that can be broken.
That's right.
It's a covenant that's a lifelong
That's right.
commitment.
Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah.
All right, let's put God first,
Yes.
and that is the best thing we can do for our marriage.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, stay with us. More coming up. For more marriage encouragement, follow A Better Us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
And subscribe for your free weekly Marriage Moment email at abetterus.tv.
Well, today was a good show, and it was great how the topics kind of flowed together.
I know, it sure was. From being overwhelmed in the busyness of family life, where our priorities can so easily get out of line, to discovering that having God as our number one priority actually is the secret to getting everything back into line. It all worked.
That's right. Because let's face it, it's so easy to take on too much and feel like you've lost control of your life. And that's where, as Jefferson Bethke said, you need to stop and take stock of what all your yeses are forcing you to say no to.
And getting into the habit of saying yes to the most important things first, God, and then your family. That habit is a game changer in your life.
But maybe things have been out of sorts for a while for you and you're feeling overwhelmed. Perhaps having someone pray with you or just talk with you would be a great idea. And one way you can do that is by calling our prayer line.
That toll-free number is on the screen, and it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's there for you.
Thanks again for joining us. And remember, with God, there is always hope to become a better us. Hey friends, we really hope you're enjoying the marriage conversations here with A Better Us on our YouTube channel.
We have hundreds of more helpful marriage videos designed to give you hope and tools to make your marriage better.
And you can see just a few options we think you might like here and here.
Enjoy! Oh, and make sure you subscribe by clicking here so you don't miss out on all the great marriage help we have coming your way soon.